Hi everyone and welcome to NameHero.com. In today's video tutorial, I want to talk about our VPS hosting specifically for WordPress. And I want to start off this video by kind of comparing our packages to a couple of our competitors out there. And then I want to explain the benefits of using a VPS for your WordPress website. And then I'm going to also show you an example of how to take a WordPress website on our shared hosting and to move it over to our VPS hosting. So before we get started, let me introduce to you what VPS hosting is. VPS stands for Virtual Private Server. And this means in sense that it's your own server, that you don't share it with anyone else and you have full dedicated resources available for your site. So without getting really technical, basically it means your site has a lot more resources. So those of you that have medium to large size businesses that are getting a lot of traffic or needing a lot of resources to your website, then you need a VPS. Now me personally, and you might want to just go ahead and label me as a control freak, I've always used a VPS for all of my WordPress websites. That was the reason why I even started NameHero, is because I could never find a web host that I trusted with my WordPress websites. So I started NameHero so I could have one. And that's why before I always used a VPS, because it just made more sense to me to build my own server out in the cloud and to use those resources and to move along with my site. So that's a little history about VPS hosting and why I even built NameHero in the first place, is because I just didn't trust any of the web hosts out there because of all the acquisitions that went on over the last 10 years in the industry. Now that the acquisitions have seemed to calm down, though, there's several different options. I mean, there's a lot of web hosts out there, but still, obviously, NameHero is my company and it is my go-to. But VPSs are needed when your website is going to get a lot of traffic. And so we see a lot of this at NameHero. We have customers that come on board with us, and our shared hosting, our regular hosting packages and reseller packages, they work out well for 99% of them. But sometimes we have customers that get a burst of traffic. And this can be a certain event or a certain time of the year. We see a lot of this during the holiday shopping season. A lot of our customers that have holiday-based blogs or shopping websites or e-commerce websites, they need to skill up for a little bit more dedicated based resources around these times. And we also have customers that have like live streaming events or just special events or launch days. They have a product launch day where they launch their product and they have thousands of people going to their website. And so what I want to let you know is that at NameHero, we have a hosting solution for you regardless of the amount of traffic that you need to send. So if if you're too big for any of our packages, we're going to help you scale up. And that's the purpose and the reason why we are on the cloud, because we can add resources on demand. So VPS is your fully managed server. Now at NameHero, everything we offer is in the cloud, because I feel like if it's not, that's really old school. Back in the last 5-10 years, VPSs were simply provisioned on multiple dedicated servers. So for example, a hosting provider would buy or rent a dedicated server, and then they would use virtualization software to break that one dedicated server up into multiple VPSs. Now that works good and all, but what if that dedicated server goes offline? Well, then all the subserver, the VPS children, they go offline as well. Well, so at NameHero, it's a similar concept into the fact that we actually are able to partition off smaller instances of the root server, but since everything is on the cloud, it's highly dynamic, meaning that you're not just have that one dedicated server that's partitioned off. We actually have the power of the NameHero cloud, so we can actually change a parent server with the click of a button or click of a mouse if something would come amiss. So it leaves us with this level of redundancy and scalability and security that we're all looking for. So VPS web hosting is needed for sites that need those resources, are going to be getting a lot of traffic. And some of our resellers, they just like to be on their own dedicated VPS so they can configure the server how they want it configured. When you're using our basic hosting or our reseller hosting, then you're basically at liberty to the way we've configured those nodes. You can't configure things all the way down to the root level because those have to be configured for many different customers. So let's jump into a couple competitors and look at what they offer, and then I'll go back to NameHero and show what we offer, and then I'm going to show you actually how to set up or move your WordPress website onto a VPS, and also how to scale that website. If you plan on doing a live stream and getting hundreds of thousands of visitors to your site, how you could scale that by using multiple VPSs. So first, let's talk about Bluehost. Bluehost has been a popular host. They've been around since the late 90s, and they're currently owned by Endurance EIG, which is a huge company company which also owns HostGator, which we'll talk about here in a second. So most people in the web hosting industry, they know of Bluehost. So let's just talk about what VPSs they offer. So this is on their page. If you go to hosting and VPS hosting, that's how you get here. And they call this their next gen VPS hosting. Our virtual private servers are built from the ground using all SSD storage and enjoy increased power, flexibility, and control for your websites. So it's kind of a similar thing at what we do at NameHero. It is impressive that they're using SSD storage. So SSD storage stands for solid state drives. They're much faster than traditional hard drives. Nowadays in 2018, most companies use SSD. If they're not, then I wouldn't recommend working with them because they're using outdated hardware. I'm sitting here right now at my desk, and I have a solid state drive, and I've got an old SATA hard drive below it, and they actually came out of one of my computers. The solid state drive is like a third of the size, and it has no moving parts to it. So meaning that something inside is not going to break. The SATA drive has many moving parts to it, so just one thing inside of that drive could break and creating a failure. So most all of these that we're going to review use SSDs, and if they don't, I'll try to let you know which ones don't. But Bluehost do, so that's good. So let's go down here and look. They have 3 different VPS options to choose from. So let's look at the differences. First, they have cores. Cores are the number of processors that are available for your website to use. This, in retrospect, this is where the website or the web server gets its resources. The more cores it has, the faster it can perform. So, for example, your web server, someone might come into your website to visit it, and that takes a process in the Apache web server, Lightspeed web server, whatever you're using, and so that uses a core to process it. So the more cores you have, the more power you have. So kind of look at this like horsepower. The more horsepower a car has, the faster it can go from 0 to 60, and of course the faster it can go overall, and the bigger workload it can handle. If you look at, say, a work truck that's pulling a heavy load, it needs more horsepower, more torque, a lower gear ratio to be able to handle it. So that's how we're going to look at cores. And we see this in virtualization because this is how you kind of partition off that parent server's resources. You know, how much of the parent are you going to give the children, which is a VPS. So 2 cores for the standard, 2 cores for their recommended enhanced, and 4 cores for the ultimate. So the ultimate's the big one. 2 cores are good though. That's pretty standard for the entry level packages. So this looks pretty good. SSD storage. This is the amount of hard disk space you have. Now the average WordPress website out there, it really uses a gigabyte or less. Now those that have a lot of images, or if you have a lot of backups on your WordPress, man, that really eats your space. If you have a lot of backups, please put those on the Amazon cloud or put those somewhere else because you don't really want to junk up your web server with a bunch of backups. A backup should be stored off on Dropbox, Amazon S3, somewhere else. You don't want to put your backups here. And sadly, I see a lot of customers that do that. They use Backup Buddy, which is a fabulous plugin, but they junk up their web space by storing 30 backups from Backup Buddy. Well, if the SSD drive, that should be used for your files, for your site structure. That should not be used for your backups. So you can probably save yourself a lot of disk space if you do that. So anyways, any of these VPSs should be good for the average WordPress website. And even if you get a lot of traffic, really make sure and evaluate what you're using your space for. So 30 gigabytes of solid state for about $20 a month, 60 gigabytes for 30, and 120 for 60. So that's pretty good prices, fair enough. RAM goes along with the cores in the server, and this again is where you get your horsepower from. Like your computer that you're probably watching this on or using, or maybe even your phone, it has RAM in it, and that's the virtual memory. And that's how every time you open an app on your phone or a program on your computer, it uses up RAM, and that's what powers the program. So the more RAM you have, the faster it is. Like the Mac I'm using right now has 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it's extremely fast. I've got an older computer in here that has like 4 gigabytes of RAM, and it's a lot slower. I mean, it's hard to turn on and off. Now at the web server, especially a CentOS or a Linux-based system, it doesn't require a ton of RAM to be able to run efficiently. So for example, 2 gigabytes of RAM, that's good for about a single site. Now, our shared packages, so at NameHero, our basic hosting and reseller hosting packages, each cPanel account has access to 2 gigabytes of virtual RAM and 1 gigabyte of physical RAM. And so that's kind of the comparison. So once you start using or need more RAM or more power, that's when you look at a VPS, because you're going to get more RAM that's dedicated just to you. No one else is going to use it. So that's the same case here at Bluehost. 2 gigabytes for $20 a month, 4 gigabytes for $30, and 8 for $60. So pretty inline prices, kind of similar to what we have at NameHero. Bandwidth is unlimited. Nowadays, I very, very, very rarely see anyone hit their bandwidth limit here at NameHero specifically. I think you could really call bandwidth unlimited pretty much any provider out there nowadays. We just don't see it. Bandwidth is cheap nowadays, so we just don't really see it. I think that this limit can be really, you can say it's unlimited for pretty much any provider out there. Of course, there's those that try to abuse this. If you're going to try to have a live stream 24/7, then of course you're going to run out of bandwidth. But I wouldn't recommend doing that anyways on a web server. You'd want to use a service to do that, and especially with Facebook letting you live stream. Use services out there that are free instead of trying to load that up on a web server. So bandwidth is really irrelevant in my opinion. So included domains, they give you a free domain with the purchase of any VPS. IP addresses, these are interesting. 1 with the standard, 2 with the enhanced, and 2 with the ultimate. IP addresses, this is what you want to use for your private name servers, because it's going to be a VPS and it's your own virtual private server. You need your own IP addresses to bind your name servers. And this is very simple. And I'm going to show you a setup at NameHero, so I'll show you exactly how those work. But that's basically what you need it for. If you're going to be sending emails, email uses an IP to verify the sender identity. So for example, if you're sending a lot of emails out, the IP address has to have a good reputation. If it gets a reputation of sending spammy emails, then a lot of times those emails won't end up in inboxes. So these are cool because these are dedicated to your box. No one else is going to share them, and you're going to have a higher rate of email deliverability. They have their 30-day money-back guarantee. I think most everyone has that. And they have their managed 24/7 support. Let's see what else they have. So they've got a video. I'm not going to watch that right now. So they've got extreme performance, instant provisioning, guaranteed resources. Okay, it's pretty standard stuff that it's going to perform better. It's going to provision as soon as you order, and the resources are guaranteed. Dynamic resources soon that you can add CPU and RAM. Okay, enhanced control panel. They've got cPanel and 24/7 support. So pretty standard stuff. I like Bluehost. I like Bluehost simplicity. They just put the packages out there. They have these nice big green buttons here and these blue packages. I really love their design on their pages, but they don't load you down with a bunch of information. Just here is what we offer. So again, it looks like they've got pretty good VPS hosting packages at Bluehost. Let's go check out HostGator. So HostGator, Bluehost's other company, owned by the same parent corporation. So I'm going to go along with that these are probably going to be pretty similar. Power at the right price with VPS, dedicated control and functionality in a scalable environment. So they've got Snappy 2000, 4000, and 8000, and this basically goes off the RAM, which you're going to see most every package that we compare to is that way. So 2, 4, 8. Same cores. So again, this is a lot the same as Bluehost. So since they are owned by the same parent corporation, I'm going to assume it's like the same hardware they're using or very similar. One thing I don't notice here is they're not using SSD drives. So that's why you see so much more disk space, is because they're not using solid state drives. And I don't believe they are, at least. Let's go down here and look. Hit server features, multiple layer security, cutting edge hardware. So they do have RAID protection, but they're not using solid state drives. So that's why they offer more space. So when you see a company that's not using SSD, they're using those old SATA drives or older SATA drives with a lot of moving parts, but they're cheaper. Okay, if you go out to Micro Center or Best Buy and you go to buy a hard drive versus an SSD drive, a SATA drive, it's a lot cheaper. So you can get a 10 terabyte SATA drive a lot cheaper than you can buy a 10 terabyte solid state drive. And the sacrifice in that, you're going to sacrifice the performance. So this VPS here, this 2-core, 2 gigabyte, 120 gigabyte disk will not perform as well as the Bluehost with the solid state drive. So that's something you need to pay attention to. And a lot of people that aren't too tech savvy, they don't realize that. They know they need a VPS, but they don't realize that how much the SSD can make a difference. And so I really challenge you, if you want to put my words to the test, order one of these. Order one that's not SSD and order one that is, and just do a split test. And I promise you'll see. I think they offer a 30-day money back guarantee too. So put them to the test for 30 days. See if it works out for you. Me personally, I just don't buy servers or don't offer servers without SSD because I really believe, or I know, the performance is a lot better. So that's a big difference. Bandwidth, once again, these aren't unlimited, but 1.5 terabytes, 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes. I really don't know people that's going to go over stuff like that. If you're using videos or you're using streaming, that should really be put on a free service. There's YouTube out there. If you're going to have a lot of videos, host your videos on YouTube. If you want a little bit more customization on your videos, go to Vimeo and buy you a premium package. I think it's like $100 a year or something like that. But those services are much more cost effective than hosting those on your own server. So definitely recommend doing that, and you won't have to worry about bandwidth if you do. IP addresses, they've got 2 for each one, and they've got these advanced server features, full root access. Okay, this is important. This means that you have complete root control on the command lines. You can install server software, remove server software. A lot of techies, such as myself, I love that. I have to have root access. And we goes back to the beginning of the video where I said, call me a control freak, because I have to have root access, because I'm going to customize every little aspect of the server for my websites or my website, whatever's on it. So I need that. Now they have optional cPanel and Web Host Manager. So I wonder if they have an extra charge. We're going to have to go through the order to look at it. So Apache Web Server must be installed by semi-managed plans. Then they've got MySQL, PHP, Perl, Python. These are pretty much standard. Multiple layers of security, IP table, safe harbor, centralized DDoS, secured firewall. Their hardware stuff, they have RAID but not SSD, and top-of-the-line network. Pretty much everyone now is a top-of-the-line network, because trust me, you're not going to run a world-class hosting infrastructure without that stuff. Okay, so I want to look here and see if cPanel is free, because some places you have to buy it extra. So let's look. Control panel, cPanel. So let's look at the price. If I take that off, is it cheaper? No. It's $1,078, and this is a 36-month term. Let's go to 1 month. 119, and if I click cPanel, 129. Okay, so there is an upcharge. Okay, I see what they're doing here. So $10 more for cPanel. So they're upcharging the control panel. So if you want to have cPanel, you're going to pay $10 more. So let's go to their base one. They're 2 gigabyte. If you pay by month with cPanel, you're looking at, let's see what else they got here. The add-ons is a control panel. So $89 a month. Whoa. Okay, so let's go back here and look. Okay, so we're not at this, oh my gosh, we're not at this $19.95 a month anymore. If we go by the month and we add cPanel, we're at $89. Okay. And we do this at Name Hero too, discount pricing for 36 months, but boy, it goes up big time if you just do 1 month here. So $89 a month for 2 gigabytes VPS. A little expensive I'm not saying that, I'm not just saying that because they're a competitor. I'm just saying that's a little expensive for 2 gigabytes of RAM. But just my opinion, we're all entitled to one. So that's HostGator and Bluehost. Let's take a look over at A2 Hosting. A2 Hosting is one of my favorite companies out there. If I had to choose, and I didn't own Name Hero or even have Name Hero, I would probably look really close at A2 Hosting, and also we're going to talk about InMotion. I would look at those two. Those two are my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of HostGator and Bluehost just because of the stories I hear at Name Hero. So basing on what customers tell me the customer service is like, that's the only thing that kind of worries me and concerns me about those companies. So let's look at A2 Hosting here. We're going to compare their managed VPS. So a managed VPS means that they handle all the software updates and all the tweaking and tuning and all that stuff in installation. Because remember, the basis of this video is about WordPress, about moving WordPress to a VPS. So you want to worry about WordPress in your website. You don't want to worry about building your own server. So that's why I'm looking at their managed option. And I did the same at Bluehost. I don't even think Bluehost offers an unmanaged. And same with HostGator. All of theirs are managed. So I think, you just have these 3 packages. So A2 does have their own where you can get a unmanaged, which is going to be a lot cheaper. Or I don't know about a lot, but let's take a look. Let's just look over here. So yeah, it's a lot cheaper, but you have to kind of do everything yourself. But they have a core and a manage. So we're just going to look at the manage, though, because I think that's what you're really looking for. Whoops, let's go back to where we were with the comparison to the manage. Okay, so let's look at their plans, and we're talking about Linux right now. We're not going to worry about Windows, because if you're hosting WordPress, I'm going to assume that you're using Linux. So they've got 3 packages here, so $32.99 a month for 4 gigabytes of RAM, 75 gigabytes of storage, 2 terabytes of bandwidth. So again, that's, you're not going to go over that, probably not. Four cores or vCPUs. So sometimes a core and vCPU or virtual CPU, those can kind of go, you can kind of interchange the terms. So Prestige Plus has 6 gigabytes of RAM, 100 gigabytes of storage. And again, we don't really have to worry about bandwidth. I don't foresee you going over this. 6 vCPUs and free SSL, SSD, free cPanel. And they have their money back guarantee. And the Pinnacle Plus, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 150 gigabytes storage, 4 terabytes of bandwidth, 8 VCUs, and SSL and SSD. So I like these packages. The SSD is good. They also have the free SSL. Google Chrome basically announced that they're going to start showing warning signs on websites about SSL. So you have to have it now. So now is, do you want to pay for it or do you want it free? Me personally, I hate to pay for stuff I don't have to, so I want it free. So it's free here. I didn't notice that over at Bluehost. So they have free SSL. It doesn't say. So that's probably a question for their pre-sales. Kind of probably the same here at HostGator. I don't see it there either. I didn't see it under the features. And maybe I overlooked it because I went through them kind of quick. They don't have a lot of information about that. Anyways, we're going to talk about A2 hosting now. So here's what they have. Now, let's just look. Let's just say the 4 gigabyte. They don't have a 2 gigabyte. So if I wanted to do this, let's just see what their monthly price is. So let's say we have our own domain. We're going to use our Key Diets domain to do some demos, so we'll just use it here. 1 month price. This is the auto installer. Basic is free. Web host manager access is there, so it does have cPanel. It comes with 2 IPs, I think. Extra IPs, no. Yeah, 2 free IPs and free cPanel. Okay, so we're looking at monthly price is, well, for some reason it's saying I've got a longer price here. If I want a 1 month price, what's the 1 month price? $60.99. I've got a discount of $20.74. So total due today. What's the total due after that? Well, their promo rate is $40.25, but the monthly rate's $60.99 for their 4 gigabytes. So again, free cPanel, free auto installer. Your data center, they've got a couple different ones. So they've got Michigan, Arizona, Amsterdam, Singapore. Okay. Priority support. And global sign. Okay, so they've got all their stuff in here. Cloudflare, if you want to add Cloudflare, it's $16 a month. That's interesting to me. At NameHero, it's $25 setup fee. There's no monthly, so that boosts the price a good bit if you want Cloudflare. Okay, so that's now one thing they don't offer is they don't offer root access. They allow you to have reseller access for Web Host Manager, but no root access. So it's not completely a root server. So that would be one thing that I would need root access if I was going to buy from A2. So I'd have to find one of their solutions that's similar. Okay, so that's their plans, though. It looks pretty good. I mean, about $60 a month for 4 gigabytes. That's not bad. Their promo rate is a lot cheaper if you sign up longer. And we do the same thing at NameHero. We reward customers for loyalty. Who wouldn't? Let's take a look at InMotion because they're another company that I like. I like a lot. So 4 gigabytes of RAM for this one, 75 gigabytes of storage, 4 terabytes of bandwidth, 6 gigabytes of RAM, 150 gigabytes of storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 260 gigabytes of storage. So my first question is the SSD. Our Linux SSD VPS hosting services. So yes, all theirs have SSD storage. The 1 month price you can see goes up Same here. If you want to go 1 month, it goes up. Same here. If you want to go 1 month, it goes up. Now, let's see. Free cPanel. So you got the high availability. So this is in the cloud servers. cPanel. They have these scheduled snapshots, which I think is pretty cool. Makes a copy of your container at that given moment. We need to see what the schedule is on that, but they do have root access. More details. So real-time redundancy, solid-state drives, server management. They do migrations, cPanel license, snapshots, DDoS, CentOS, launch assist, limit email accounts. Okay, so they offer pretty much all the features that anyone else does. I'm not seeing the cores, how many cores or processors you get. 3 IPs, 4 IPs, 5 IPs, but not seeing any more details than that. Let's just look here if I want to go for 1 month. Is he going to show me a checkout, or am I going to have to register? It's interesting. Okay, they do. All right. Okay, so they're going to see the discount. So if you want the apps installer, you have to pay extra. WordPress configurations, PHP. So they have some pre-configurations, which is cool. So about $44 a month. They have a $15 discount right now. Okay, so pretty good stuff, pretty standard, but they offer, cPanel and all that stuff. I don't see SSL in here, so I'm going to assume they don't offer it on here. But yeah, I don't see that. I don't see it mentioned. I'm going to assume everything is Apache web server, because CentOS is LAMP stack. Okay, so there's really not a whole lot of difference between A2 and InMotion. They have the SSD, they have RAM, they have SSD storage. But they have root access here. So if I was looking for a VPS, I'm going to go with the root access one. I want the SSD and all that stuff. So my top pick right now would be InMotion. So let's take a look at NameHero. Let's talk about what we offer here. So as you can see over here at NameHero, we offer a 2 GB, a 4 GB, a 6 GB, and an 8 GB. So let's talk about why we do this. At NameHero, we saw a need in the industry for a small VPS for developers that are developing plugins and themes and that need root access but don't want to pay a lot. And so that's why we came out with a 2 GB one. Personally, I don't really recommend the 2 GB on a lot of active sites. So if you're getting a lot of traffic, 2 GB is not a lot of RAM, but at the same time, we wanted to provide a VPS, a private virtual server or virtual private server for the developers, for the startups that have limited budgets, so they can at least get started. At NameHero, since everything is on the cloud, you can scale up to 4 GB in just a matter of minutes. You go to our interface, you click upgrade, you pay the invoice, and then it upgrades. Same with 6, same with 8. So you can kind of scale your way on up the board here without having to, remigrate the data. So that's why we have the 2 GB, is we wanted an entry level that's great for developers. And so you can see we kind of put suggestions under each one. Like 4 GB, the average server is going to be your 4 GB. Okay, your 4 GB of RAM. This is for your average site. 6 GB, those are starting to push heavy traffic. We said it's great for applications. If you have a PHP, MySQL application, you need adequate RAM. This would be a great one. And then if you get a lot of traffic, you need the 8 GB. And if you get even more than that, then we offer other solutions. But you actually have to contact sales to get those, because if you're going to get more than 8 GB of RAM, we need to start customizing and looking at your exact setup. So that's our 4 solutions here. Our 2 GB come with 30 GB of SSD storage. Now, it's also important to note, and if we go under superhero features, we have RAID 10 storage. I didn't see this on the other ones. I didn't see RAID. I saw RAID at HostGator, but no SSD. I don't see RAID here. So what RAID is, RAID's a controller that basically mirrors the drive in real time. So SSD drives, they have a very low failure rate. They don't fail as much as SATA drives. But if it is to fail, we're using a RAID 10 controller on it, meaning that it's copied over on the server on another disk. So if the drive would fail, we could basically recover the data a lot quicker. This is not a substitute for a backup. It's actually a redundancy thing. So it's keeping a real-time sequence in your data had the drive fail, but it's not really a good backup solution. You wouldn't want to say, oh, it's got RAID 10 on it, I don't need to make backups, because that's just not the case. You still want to back up the server or order appropriate backups, which we'll talk about in the order flow. So that's the main difference so far with NameHero, Bluehost, HostGator, A2 Hosting, and InMotion Hosting is the RAID 10 controller that's on each one of these. So we've got the RAMs, 2, 4, 6, 8, so kind of what we've seen at the other ones. All of these come with 10 terabytes of bandwidth. As I said, bandwidth nowadays is pretty much unmetered in the first place, but you can see Bluehost just said unlimited, and they've got a link on it so they can tell you what unlimited is. But it's pretty much unlimited. 1.5, 2, 3. These guys here, 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes, 4 terabytes, and InMotion gives you 4, 5, and 6. So we realize bandwidth's cheap at NameHero, and so we give you a ton of it. Again, I still don't recommend hosting all my images and all my heavy videos, but really, you've got a lot of bandwidth to play with. So if you do have a lot of videos, go for it, but you don't want to eat up your 30 gigabytes, your 60 gigabytes with a bunch of videos when you have YouTube and all the other free platforms out there. When you have Amazon S3 that's cheap as dirt to host those big files, you don't want to waste that. But we have the bandwidth, so you don't really have to worry about. So our cores, 2 CPU cores for the 2 gigabytes, 2 CPU cores for the 4, then we get into the 4 and the 6. So if you're needing more power, you're going to want to go up to 6 gigabyte. The 4 gigabyte and 4 gigabyte of RAM with 2 CPU cores, this is kind of the average VPS. This is, if I was going to put one that says recommended, it'd be this one, because this is kind of the recommended starting point. This is good for development with root access, but really a good production servers is 4 gigabyte. If you already know you're going to get a little bit of a good bit of traffic, 5,000-6,000 visitors a day, go with this one. Then if you're going to get 10,000 visitors a day, go with this one. If you're going to get more than that, then hit us up. Let's talk. So that's the CPU cores, and of course you can upgrade. So if you build out this 4 gigabyte, you get your data live, WordPress is rocking and rolling, and you're getting traffic, and then it starts to lag, well, then we know we need to look at it. Are we using up the RAM, or are we using up the CPU? Our team can help you out, but you can also see this stuff in Web Host Manager. So then you could upgrade on up. Free SSL, free SSL should be free and automatic in my opinion. So it's with every hosting package, every server at NameHero has it. Free cPanel license, so we're not going to go to the checkout and add $10 to the price. Okay, that's not going to happen. It comes free with all of them. They're all Cloudflare ready, but they don't have Cloudflare. That is an additional charge for our technicians to actually log into the server and customize it for your infrastructure. It's a one-time $25 fee, then it's on your server for as long as you have service with us. So they are Cloudflare ready, and they have their DDoS protection and all that stuff. So, in my opinion, you probably want to use Cloudflare. So if you do, it's they're ready. Fully managed, so includes a control panel as well as complete support of the base operating system and all control panel services. Proactive service restoration is provided. So, we keep everything upgraded. You don't have to install software packages and keep them updated and all that. We're going to do that for you. That's the fully managed aspect. Hover over the superhero features, the RAID 10, which we talked about, the 99.9% uptime, MySQL, which these are now Maria databases, which is same thing as MySQL, just higher performance. CentOS 7 is the operating system. Remember I said we're just dealing in Linux. These come standard with the Apache web server. If you want to use Lightspeed, that is an upgrade, and you can. And of course, everything has full root access. So in a nutshell, that is our VPSs. If you go down here, you can see a little bit more about the details. They're all instant. They provision instantly. The Maria database is there now. It's standard. It's not MySQL. Everything is Maria database because of the performance. So you can read a little bit more about these. And of course, now all of these have PHP 7, and you can run PHP 5.6 if you need to. That's standard within cPanel and Web Host Manager nowadays, so you don't have to worry about that. You're going to get your PHP 7. We all want that for speed, especially us WordPress folks. So let's take a look at the monthly price for the 4 gigabyte. Let's click it. Now, of course, you're going to save more if you sign up longer. So to get this really good price, you want to save up for the year. But we're going to show you. So let's just say keydiets.com. So similar sign up process as the others. So again, it's just going to hover over the basic features of the server. The 12-month price is the best price. 1 month price goes up a little bit. there is a discount going on. Remember, if we look over here, the Winter Heroes here, and it's going to apply on the checkout. So to see our total price, we have to do our host name. So let's just call this server 1. Our root password would use a strong pass. You want to use a lot of numbers and special characters, but write it down. NS prefix, this is for our name servers. You can just enter NS1 and NS2, which is what I recommend doing. Web server, so Apache is free. If you want to add Lightspeed, you can. Now, Lightspeed's interesting because the licensing is based off the CPUs in the server. So if we go over here and look, the 4 GB has 2 CPUs. So you can buy the, where'd it go? You can buy the 1 CPU license or the 2 CPU license. The 2 CPU license has the Lightspeed cache. So if you are a WordPress guy like me, you might want the Lightspeed cache on your server. These are additional fees per month. There is a Lightspeed licensing fee, so that's why we have to charge this, is we have to pay them for the actual license. So if that's something you want, you're going to look at least $35 more a month or $50. And you can add it later. You can add Apache nowadays with HTTP2 that's standard and PHP 7 and also PHP-FPM. Fast Process Manager, it's pretty fast nowadays. So you might just want to try out with Apache first and look at adding Lightspeed later if you want it. But it's actually not bad, especially on your own VPS where it's not shared. So it might be just enough for you. Cloudflare, so you're going to get their CDN, their Content Delivery Network, their cPanel plugin, and the Railgun for a $29.95 setup fee if you want that. If you don't worry about it. But if you do, it's there. If you want a malware scanner installed, we have a vendor here that's approved. This is $7 a month. This will automatically scan all of the accounts on your VPS each night for malware. So we know it's a good thing for WordPress sites. Even if you're using like WordFence security, it's just an extra backup. And again, it's automated, so it just runs every night. If you don't want to spend the $7 a month, don't worry, you don't have to, but it just will help you out. Now here's the template. So we have CentOS 7 with cPanel fully managed, which is free. If you want to have Cloud Linux, so if you plan on, most WordPress people don't want Cloud Linux, but if you plan on hosting other customers on this server, then you probably want Cloud Linux, because Cloud Linux allows you to distribute the resources on the server across multiple accounts evenly. That way you don't have one customer that takes your whole box down, because Cloud Linux will help govern that. It'll regulate the load. So if you're going to be a web host, you probably want to pay the $24.95 a month and get it. But if not, don't worry about it. If you want to go with CentOS 6, you can. It's the same cost as CentOS 7. The reason why we offer this is there is some software out there that is not yet compatible with CentOS 7, so we wanted to at least offer that for you. For Cloud Linux to be installed, you can actually buy the CentOS 7 and then go install Cloud Linux and buy it on your own. But if you want it provisioned with the server, you have to go with CentOS 6. That's how our templates are set right now. But it's your server, you can go add this stuff yourself. And same with Cloudflare. If you don't want us to do it and you want to go off to Cloudflare and get your own partner license and API keys with them, have at it. And then you don't have to pay the $25 setup fee. You just have to get your partner agreement with them. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it's, what do you want to pay for and what you don't. So IP addresses, 2 are free. We said for our name servers is why we include those. If you need more, here's the cost per month to get more. 10, or if you want 20 terabytes of bandwidth. Again, you're not going to go over 10 terabytes of bandwidth. I really doubt you are. But if you think that you're going to, go for it. Now, also, it's important to note, incoming bandwidth is free at NameHero, period. Incoming bandwidth is free. So you're only paying for the outgoing in the first place. So you're not going to go over 10 terabytes. You're really not. But if you think you are, you can pay us $150 more a month and we'll give you 20. I don't think you're going to. So this is the daily backup plan, and this is an off-site backup. So basically each night, or however many days you select, this will actually image your server and back it up. And so tonight at midnight, it's going to take the whole server, back everything up, all the accounts, all the settings, and store it off-site. So tomorrow, if you come in and you've blown your server up, you can click restore in the interface and restore from last night's backup. You can choose how many days you want, so you can click daily, and you can select how many days you want to retain. So we offer as many as 4, so that way you can make changes today, and then if you screw something up later in the week, you can go back to today, or you can go back as many as 4 days. So this is the price per month for those. So $8.20 a month or $32.80 a month. So just what you need. You can do your own backups if you don't want us to automatically do them for you, but you just choose that here. So add-ons we have, if you want a WHMCS license, our reseller hosting friends want that. If you're looking for WordPress, you're probably not going to need it. So we're just going to continue on. Okay, so here's what it looks like. The monthly price, the first month with the Winter Hero coupon is $48.71. After that, the price is $64.95 a month. So that's paid monthly. Remember, we saw the same thing over here at Bluehost. Well, let's just compare it. Hang on. 4 gigabytes. And so we look at monthly. I have my domain. So just so we can get a comparison. And at Name Hero, we're not trying to be the best price leader. We try to be the most quality. But so we'll just see what they have. 1 month price. I don't want site lock. So $60 a month. So they're within $4. We have the first month at this, and after that, $64. They're $60 a month. So they're a little bit cheaper. Again, I didn't say we would be the cheapest. I wanted to provide a fair comparison. HostGator for a 4 gigabyte. Let's look at their monthly. Key diets. Oh, I don't have to do that to get this. 1 month price. Key diets. Yes, I know it's not available. Sorry, Snappy. Go down here. And so with cPanel, it's $129 a month. So HostGator is about double. They're double Bluehost and double us. So HostGator is a little expensive, their VPSs. It's strange. HostGator used to always have the cheapest. I don't know what's up. So they've changed their pricing a little bit. They're a little bit more expensive for that. Remember, $10 a month for cPanel. Let's look at A2. So A2, we're 4 gigabytes. Let's get power. We're going to use key diets. Give it a second. 24-month price. You want the 1 month price. So, wow, what happened? Okay, so our monthly price is $60.99 here. I don't know why we're getting here. Maybe if I refresh it. Okay, there we go. 60. Their jQuery hates me. So they have a first month price too, of $40.25. So much like Name Hero, they're about $8 cheaper for their first month, and then the recurring is, where does it say recurring? Monthly is $60.99. So they're $60.99 and we are $64.95. Bluehost was $60 and HostGator was $120. So that's kind of a comparison there. They don't have free SSL here though, I don't think. If you want to add Lightspeed, you can. Railgun is $2. But remember, no root access here. If you want to add Cloudflare, it's $16 a month. So no root access. So that's the main difference here. Let's take a look at our friends at InMotion. InMotion, let's look at 4 gigabytes if we want to pay by the month. Okay, so we have a $15 discount. Oh, I've gotten 2 in my cart. My goodness. So $44.99 here. Let's see. Let's make sure I've got all my options picked out here. Oh, it's going to make me register. Okay, so I'm going to assume I've got everything I need on here. Key diets, launch assist, the apps installer. That's free at Name Hero. So $44.99 a month. Okay, so that's where they are. They've got a good price. Yeah, we've got 64 here. There is 60 at Bluehost, 129 at HostGator, $60.99 at A2, and then $44.99 at InMotion. So InMotion's got the best price. And like I said, I like InMotion. I think they're a good company. So that's the comparison of prices and features. I didn't see the, remember we have no RAID 10 here and we have no free SSL. At least I did not see that. Now, if I missed something, feel free to call me out in my comments, but I don't see free SSL. SSH, root access, but I don't see the SSL. So I don't know. Maybe that's something for their pre-sales. I'm sure if I clicked the live chat and asked them, they'd tell me, if I called them. But I'm not going to go through that far. So that's the comparison. And that's where we are at Name Hero on the pricing. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you, I'm going to provision this VPS out. And then I'm going to move my site over that's over on basic hosting. And then we'll just kind of go from there. Okay, so now I want to walk you through the process of signing up and configuring your VPS for your WordPress website. So in our first part of the video, we reviewed the Name Hero VPS, and we also compared against some of the competitors out there, and we saw some have similar features, some have completely different features, and the pricing's all about the same with an exception of one or two. So now I'm going to walk you through the process, and in this video I want to show you how to set up the VPS, how to set up your DNS, your name servers, and all that, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of easy tweaks you can do to really increase the performance of the VPS. So on the VPS that I want to set up today, I want to utilize PHP 7 at least, and I also want to utilize what's called PHP-FPM, and FPM stands for Fast Process Manager. So this is the PHP handler. This is how PHP operates on the web server itself. There's other handlers for PHP, such as FCGI, FastCGI, and also PHP-SU. PHP-FPM performs the best. However, it also is more memory intense. So if you plan on ordering the 2 GB server, I would not recommend that because it's really not enough RAM to operate PHP-FPM efficiently. I would recommend at least going with the Hero 4 GB or even if the Hero 6 GB. If you start to get timeouts on 4 GB, then you can always upgrade it later. But I recommend at least 4 GB. If you get the 2 GB, you're going to get a lot of timeout errors early on, 503s, and then you're going to get aggravated at us, and of course we don't want that to happen. So if you go with the 2 GB, you're just going to have to use FCGI, FastCGI instead of PHP-FPM. PHP-FPM is now right inside of Web Host Manager, so it's super easy to configure, and I'm going to walk you through that in this tutorial. I'm also going to show you how to move your existing WordPress website over. In my example, I'm going to show you a WordPress website that's actually hosted at Name Hero already. Now, if you're at HostGator, Bluehost, or another one of the competitors, maybe one of the ones we reviewed, or maybe a different one, as long as they're using cPanel, the process is the same. And of course, we offer 10 free cPanel to cPanel migrations, so if you want our team to do it, I'll also show you how to go about doing that. But first, let's get the VPS built out and set up so we can move along here in our tutorial. So I'm going to start with the 4 GB server. So I'm going to click on this, and I want to use the domain I already have. So we're going to select the third option. Now, if you want to register a new domain, you can do that here. If you want to transfer over your existing name, you can do that here. Now, if you're transferring over your name, which I personally recommend having your name and your hosting at the same spot, because when we get into private name servers, it's difficult. If you have the name registered at GoDaddy or if you have the name registered at Namecheap, it's not impossible, but it just makes it more difficult. If everything's at Name Hero, it makes it extremely easy for you to set up, and it also makes our support team easier for them to help you. So if if your name's registered at GoDaddy, then they have to try to help you troubleshoot in their platform, or if your name's registered at Namecheap or somewhere else, then they're going off of their other articles. We don't have a back end to their system. So I do recommend that. It's not a requirement, but trust me, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So I've already got my name at Name Hero, so I'm going to use the third option. But if you do use the transfer option, make sure a couple conditions are met before you start this. One, unlock the domain. So in your current GoDaddy panel, Namecheap panel, wherever, you log in to where the domain is held, and you click Turn Off the Registrar Lock. If you have any questions, you can normally ask their support team, give them a call, or most of them have help desk articles to show you how to do that. And also, if you have privacy protection, you're going to want to disable that. So and again, if you use Namecheap or GoDaddy, they have an option to turn that off. And then finally, you're going to need the EPP code if you're transferring over like a .com, a .net, or .org, and that's like a password for your domain. And so you can get that also inside the interface. Most of the time, it's all in there in the same spot, like where you unlock it and get the EPP. But those are very important before you go to this next step, because towards the end it's going to ask for the EPP before you complete your order. So it just makes life a lot easier to having all that together. If you have any questions on that, you can type in how to transfer your domain to Name Hero into Google, and it will return an article that will show you step by step how to do that. But since my name's already at Name Hero, we're going to use keydiets.com. So I'll put keydiets in here, then the .com in here, click Use. Okay, now I want to do, again, you're going to save the most. You save almost $20 a month by going to the 12-month price. In Name Heroes, we're here to stay. And because we're here to stay, we reward customers on loyalty. And this is any web host that I've reviewed so far in this video. All of them discount based on how long you sign up. So I recommend it. And the cool thing here at Name Hero, if you sign up for the 4 gigabyte for a year and you decide after the first 3 months, hey, I need to go to the 6 gigabyte or maybe the 8 gigabyte, we're going to apply the balance you've already paid towards your new server. So that money's never lost. You can always apply it. If you want to go month by month, you can. I mean, there's no harm in that, but you're not going to save. You're not going to get these really good prices. So it's like, if you're to the point you're buying a VPS, you're probably pretty serious in your web ventures. So why not just save the money? So that's what I recommend doing. Okay, the first thing we need to do is enter our host name. So this is the name of the VPS itself. You have to give it a name, and you can see I've got like Josh and NHTrack, so and ones I've already used for other examples. So we can call it server 1, alpha, beta, whatever, but it needs a name. So I'm just going to call it alpha. And we'll just call it alpha.keydiets.com. Now, our root password, we want to use a combination of lowercase, uppercase, special symbols, and numbers. If someone guesses your root password, you're screwed. They're going to get in your system and compromise it. So if you use like password 123, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they get into it. There are evildoers out there that all they do all day long, they have bots and scripts and software that scans the internet all day long for servers and entering random dictionary-based attacks. So if you don't do this, one, our service won't even configure it. I mean, it will give an error to where an admin has to go in and reset your password before the service provisions. So to make sure your order goes smoothly, use something strong, and you can write this down. You're also going to get an email with it. We'll email you the password to it, but just get you a notepad document, put something strong in it, and bring it over. So I'm going to make one here. I've got a notepad document here, and I'm just going to use a bunch of random string of text. I'm going to copy it over and paste it in here. So please do that. Make it strong as you can. All right, next is our name server prefix. So this is pretty standard. Just use NS1 and NS2. If you don't know what to use, just use that. Name server 1, name server 2. Okay, so for the web server, we're just going to use Apache on this one. As I said early on in my video, that nowadays, if it's just you on the server, maybe you and 5 or 6 other sites, Apache does pretty good. Unless you specifically have to have Lightspeed, which is what we use on our shared server, our shared nodes, then you can if you want to spend the extra money. This has for the one CPU, meaning that one CPU core has access to Lightspeed. The more cores you have access, the faster it's going to be. But also the 2 CPU license comes with Lightspeed Cache. So if you're wanting to use the Lightspeed Cache plugin for WordPress, you have to go with at least this one or the 4 CPU. Now, the 4 CPU would not work on our 2 and 4 gigabyte servers because they only have 2 cores anyways. So just something to note. All right, Cloudflare, I'm not going to do it on this one, but it's a one-time $25, $29.95 setup fee, and this gives you access to the Cloudflare CDN, the Cloudflare cPanel plugin, as well as the Railgun. Now, if you were to go to cloudflare.com and get the Railgun from them directly, it only comes with their business package that starts at $200 a month. So it's kind of pricey, which you're going to get for free here for just the $29.95 setup fee. Now, it's important to note that this isn't instantly set up. We have to actually have a technician log into your server and install this. So we say just allow for 24 hours. Most of the time it's much sooner, but depending on how many Cloudflare requests we get for that day, we have to kind of prioritize it. So normally it's done within an hour, but we always ask you, please allow us for 24 hours. Your server's still going to be online instantly. You can start working on it, but for that Cloudflare to get installed and configured, we have to do it manually. Same with the malware scanner. If you want to add that, it's $7 a month. It automatically scans your site nightly for malware. If you're going to be hosting other customers, it'll scan theirs as well. And this is also a manual install process. The technician actually has to log into your box and put the key and all that. So again, allow for 24 hours. Most of the time it's done within an hour or 2. But I'm just going to disable it for my demonstration here. So template, I'm going to go with the CentOS 7, just a standard. It's free with cPanel. If you want to go Cloud Linux, most of the time you're going to be a web host if you do this. And that's why, because Cloud Linux governs resources along multiple accounts. For my purpose, I'm just going to be hosting one WordPress blog here, so I just want the basic CentOS 7. I just want 2 dedicated IPs because I'm going to be using them for my name servers. So I'm going to use the 2 that are free. If you have a lot of sites or maybe some that are going to be sending out some emails, maybe you have a newsletter or something, and again, can spam compliant. If you're going to spam, we're going to catch you early on. Trust me, I know all about that industry. So don't try to even do that. If you're doing that now, please turn the video off and don't even think about ordering. We'll catch you within an hour, and so you're going to waste your money because we're not going to refund you if you spam. Just a heads up. But 2 is fine. 10 terabytes, you're not going to run out. Backup plan, I like to do at least 1 day on this. It's $8.20 a month, and it's just a way that that your server's backed up at least once a day. So if it blows up, you have a backup that's off-site. You can do your own backups yourself, but this just gets it out of the way. It's $8.20 a month. Gosh, that's not even $1 a day. That's not even 50 cents a day. It's less than 50 cents a day. So you can find that in your spare change, and it's going to save you a headache down the road. If you want a WHMCS license for reselling, it's $9.95 a month. That's discounted heavily from WHMCS directly, but I'm not going to choose that because this is for my WordPress site. So now I have my total, and I'm logged into my account here, so I don't have the promotion. If you're a new customer, then you'll have a promo code, most likely, and you'll get the discounted rate for the first billing term. Okay, so I'm going to complete my checkout here. Once I complete it, I'll get my server online and we'll go through the configuration. Okay, I paused the video for about 10 minutes here just so the server got online and everything instantly. And instantly, I mean, it just takes about 10 minutes for the actual server to build and go through the process of installing all the software and everything. Because remember, it deploys in real time. The server isn't actually just sitting there. It deploys out into the cloud. So if that's the case with you, just let it do its thing. Go get a cup of coffee like I did, and then come back and you should be all set. Now, you'll notice after you do your order, we always have a survey because we want to know how we're doing. We try very, very hard at Name Hero to go for 10 for 10 customer support and satisfaction. So if you enjoyed your experience so far, we certainly appreciate you giving us 5 stars here. After you enter these, you can actually leave us a comment. If you leave some in-kind words for other people, if you're so kind to give us your name and email, then we will follow up with you, or not us, but Shopper approved. It's a third party. They'll follow up with you to say, after a couple of days, well, is your ranking still accurate? So again, we do appreciate that stuff. And if you don't want to fill it out, you can just click the X. Some people think for them to actually see their server, they have to complete it. No, you don't have to. But we certainly do appreciate that because it allows us to continue always be tweaking our customer support. Okay, so now we have the order confirmed. So we're going to go to the client area. And I'm going to go to Cloud Web Hosting. Now I've got several different products here, so it's likely you just have 1 or 2. So I'm going to click on Hero 4 GB because that is the VPS. And you're going to see it's active. If I scroll down here, you're going to see all the details about the server. Here's the host name, the primary IP address, the name servers. These are a bunch of commands that will start the server, shut down the server, reboot the server, web host manager access, cPanel access, restore from backup, view the history. Restore from image. Our backups are down here. So we have the firewall backups, and we also have block storage if you buy that. And don't worry, most of you do not. If you buy block storage, it's basically on a case-by-case basis. But we can see down here, here's the server, the IP, the template it was built with. It's running. We have our bandwidth statistics. There's nothing on there, but over time, it'll start to show you graphs. Same with server load. We can go down here and see our memory and disk usage and all that stuff. You can see we're using 7 gigabytes out of our 60. It takes a couple just for the root partitions, but then 7 gigabytes is actual cPanel and Web Host Manager. So we are all set to go into Web Host Manager and get this server set up. So what I like to do is go to Login Details, copy my password. You want to keep this password safe because that is your root. I'm going to go to Web Host Manager. And you're going to see I get a connection private error. That's okay. That's because it's new. It does not have SSL yet, so I'm going to proceed. I'm going to go to Web Host Manager, and I'm going to use the username root. This is when you're accessing Web Host Manager as a root user, you actually use the username root. Then you're going to put the password that you just copied and click Login. So now we're in Web Host Manager, and we have their agreement. So if you haven't read it before, please read through it. And then if you agree, click Agree. And then it's going to give us some recommended software. The only one I don't like is IMAP full text search. It increases when you search for emails, but it uses up a lot of resources. So no, thank you. Everything else you can leave on if you want. There's just some additional software, and you can go through and read this stuff. individually. Now this PHP-FPM for cPanel, I do want to use that, but again, you can read through each one of these, but those are the only two I'm going to make changes to. I do want my whole server to use PHP-FPM. Okay, and now we are here. So now the server is online. The first thing we want to do is set up our name servers, because this is how we are going to move our current site to the active site. So we're going to go to Basic Web Host Manager Setup. We're going to scroll down here to configure records. So you can see name servers, you entered these when you set it up, but now we have to configure the IPs. So first we're going to take our IP in the address bar, the main IP. We're going to copy it. We're going to click Configure Address Records, and we're going to paste this over top of one if you have one in there, and click Configure. And now we have to register the name server. So this goes back to where I said it's easier if you have your domain with us at Name Hero. If you're at another place, GoDaddy, Namecheap, then you have to go to their interface to do the following. But I've got mine at Name Hero. So I'm going to hover over Domains, My Domains. I'm going to find Key Diets, which is right here. I'm going to click on Private Name Servers on the right. And now I'm going to enter NS1. I'm going to paste the IP in here. Save changes. And now I want to do the second one. So the second one, I want to type in here, show IPs. So show IP usage. I'm going to open it in another window. And there's my second IP address. So I'm going to copy it. Configure address records. And I'm going to paste that in here. Configure it. Close. I'm going to go back to my Name Hero, NS2, and paste that. Now, I am going to look at my site. And here's what my site looks like. It's just a basic WordPress site. But this is a site I want to transfer over. So since I'm going to be transferring it, I wanted to show you what it looked like. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to install Let's Encrypt on it. So just one second while I pull up my document on that in my other window here. And Let's Encrypt is the Auto SSL installer. And it comes, let me show you. So if we go into Web Host Manager, then we're finished with this, so save changes. We want to go to Auto SSL, Manage Auto SSL. And so by default, it has Komodo, and that's the current setting. So it will issue your certificates, but I personally like Let's Encrypt better. So you can install that. It's very simple, but I'll show you how. The first thing is I want to open a new terminal window. I want to use my IP address here. I'm going to log into the server, SSH, root at, then my IP address. I'll type in yes. And now I need to enter my password, so I'll go back here and grab it. My root password. Remember, you don't want to give this out to anyone. And if you're going to try evil stuff, I'm going to change it after this video, so don't even waste your time. Sad I have to say it. Okay, and now I want to run this little command here, and feel free to follow along, not my password. Once again, I'm changing that after this video, so you don't have to think about doing something malicious to my test server. So /script/install _let's _encrypt _auto SSL _provider. I'm going to push enter. It's going to do its thing. I want to leave this terminal open though, because there's a couple things I want to do to increase our load time. So just give it a second while it runs through. Just takes a second. Now we go back to Web Host Manager, where we have Auto SSL. We'll refresh it, and you're going to see Let's Encrypt. So we're going to select that. Read through the terms if you haven't. Create a new registration with them. Save. And now Let's Encrypt is installed on your server. So now all sites you add are going to automatically add an SSL certificate from Let's Encrypt. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to migrate over our existing WordPress website. If you already have if you want to start new, then you can, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So what we want to do is we want to create a restore account, an account that we're going to use to restore our backup. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to type in create new account. And I'm going to call this restore.keydiets.com. Username restore. I'm just going to choose a password, use the generator. And I can select all the options manually. I just want it all unlimited. I don't care to set quotas on this one. Click create. Okay, so I need this information, so I'm going to scroll down and just keep it here. So now I want to go to the cPanel of where my WordPress site is currently hosted. So in my case, it's Name Hero. So client area, click the Name Hero. Cloud Web Hosting. And I'm looking for Key Diets. It's my plus package right here. So I've got Key Diets here. I want to go into cPanel. And I want to go to backup. So you'll see backups right here. So now if you're moving over from Bluehost or HostGator, they might try to be tricky and hide this from you. If they do, send them a ticket, send them a live chat, give them a call. Tell them you need the backup. And they have to give it to you. And some of them try to hassle you, but they'll give it to you if you get hard enough with them. But that's where it is. And if you're coming from other hosts, most other hosts have it in their cPanel. HostGator just does that. I don't know why, but they do. So we're going to click download a full backup. Backup destination, we want to use a remote FTP server, and we want to enter the server details here. Also, it's a good idea to enter a valid email address, so it'll email you once this backup has been finished. So especially if you have a large backup, it might take a couple hours. You know, it might not, but if you have a really large one, it might. So it's good just to email yourself when it's finished, so then you know when you can go restore the account. So I'm going to get this information here, and I want this IP right here. I'm going to copy it, bring this over. Every time I switch a keyboard, I get my copy and paste. Here's my password. The username is restore. My password's copied. My port's 21. You can leave your remote directory empty. Click generate backup. Now what this is going to do, it's going to back up, and it didn't log in correctly. It's going to back up your current website and bring it on over to your new server. And I don't know why we didn't log in correctly, so we're just going to copy and paste this stuff again. Computers sometimes. There we go. Okay, so the backup's in progress. So this is taking your current cPanel, everything in your cPanel, all your emails, all your DNS records, all your files, all your databases, and it's packaging them up into a zip, and then it's going to upload it to your new server. So we'll click go back, and you can see it's in progress. So you can keep refreshing this, and it'll let you know once it's completed. Of course, if you entered your email address, it's going to send you a nice friendly email to let you know that you're ready to go. So I'm just going to give it another second here, and we'll see if it's on the server. This is just an example site, so it doesn't have much data. So I'll go back to my terminal here, and I'm going to type in cd/home/restore, enter. I'm going to type in ls space -l, and you can see I've got my backup file right here. So I want to copy this. I'm going to type in mv paste space /home. That moves the backup file to your home directory. Now I can close out of this cPanel. We're done. Let's close out all this stuff here so we don't get too much open. Now here I want to type in restore, and you're going to see restore a full backup /cp move file. We can scroll down. You can leave restricted restore on. It doesn't make a difference. Restore with username, and now you're going to see that backup file since we moved it to the home. So we're going to click that, go down here and click restore. So now you're migrating from your old host to your new VPS. And you can see it takes, if you have a really large account, it might take a couple hours to get, then it might take about 10-20 minutes to restore. Since this is just an example account, it's not going to take very long. And you can see 100%. So we can go down here and we can see a couple of warnings. And this is because just different software on the server. So we don't have to worry about this stuff, okay? Just ignore this because it completed. So 1 completed, 1 had warning, 0 failed. So now if we type in list accounts, you're going to see there's our blog. It's there. And you can use this preview link to kind of verify. So our site is transferred over. Now, if you want to keep things nice and clean, you might as well just remove this restore. So terminate the restore. You can, make sure you're just terminating the restore account and not the, the good account. So just remove that. So now when we list accounts, we just have our one domain. So now, good, congratulations, you're on the new server. But we haven't changed the name servers yet. And that's because I want to help you configure your WordPress VPS for speed. So what we want to do is we want to first enable PHP-FPM. So we're going to type in multi-PHP manager. Click that. Go down here. You can see PHP-FPM is off. So we want to convert everything to PHP-FPM. So we're going to highlight this and turn on. Convert all accounts to PHP-FPM. PHP-FPM conversion has started. Visit this link to view the conversion log. You don't have to. Just keep refreshing this page if you want. It's still not on yet. So it just takes a little bit to run. There we go. Now we have it. So now we have keydiets.com. It is on, and it's using PHP 7.0. If you want to change the PHP version, you click here, and we click, and we can change it all the way to PHP 7.1. They don't have 7.2 yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But I just like 7.0 for right now because I know it's optimized and it's got everything it needs to go. But I wouldn't recommend going any higher than 7.1, which 7.2 is not even on here yet, so you don't even have to worry about that. Now, I like to make sure that HTTP2 is on. So we do that or actually, real quick, before we leave, let's click Pool Options. Pool Options, this is the maximum connections that's allowed to the site. Now, there's some formulas we can run through on this, but like max children, we base this off of the amount of RAM in the server. So the higher these numbers are, the more requests the site can handle. So if you're going to get a lot of traffic, of course, you need to increase these. So if you had like 64 gigabytes of RAM, you could make this 50, 100, and 200, and it'd be great. But we just have like 4 gigabytes of RAM in the server. So we can still increase these a little bit. So maybe we could do 25, idle timeout, let's just say 30 seconds, max requests, let's just say 50. So that increases a little bit. And after we do that, we'll just monitor the load. And we do that in status. Once the server's live, the server's not even live yet. So if we click server status, we go down here, see our load is 0.42, that's very low. Since we have two CPUs, we only want to get concerned when that load is consistently staying at 2 or more. So, and this will actually turn red if it does. And that's when you know you need to relax those numbers just a little bit. But you can see we're going to be good because we're not even live yet. Okay, so now we want to look at Easy Apache 4. So we're going to type in Easy Apache 4. And we want to make sure that HTTP2 is enabled. HTTP2 is a new protocol for HTTP, and it's a lot faster, especially for WordPress. So we always like to verify that it is active on our server. Now you're going to notice when you click Easy Apache 4, it takes a little bit to load because it's pulling out all of these settings into your server and pulling into what exactly is installed. So just give it a second. You can see we've got a couple different packages here. The currently installed package is the one you want. Click Customize. It just takes a second to load up here. And so this is what's already loaded into the server, and we just want to make sure that we have that HTTP2 module on it. So we will go to npms, or we don't need that. Mod HTTP2. So it's off, so we're going to tick this to install it. Click Next. We'll leave everything else the same, so we're going to leave all the way to 7.1. Now you can notice that PHP 7.2 is not installed either, so if you wanted to, you can add that too. But I'm not going to. If you need any extra PHP extensions, you add them here. So, if you're using a script that requires an extension, you would just define it here. You can search for it in here and add it. I'm not going to add anything different. If you want to add Ruby via Passenger, you can if you want Ruby apps on this. Next. I'm going to prepare everything for a review so I can give it one final look over before I do it. But I just want that HTTP2 because it's going to make my server, my WordPress website, a lot faster. So remember, the purpose of a VPS for WordPress is to have a faster, more reliable, more redundant website. And so while this loads up here, if you look at this blog article I wrote last October, it's called How to Increase Your Time to First Byte on WordPress. And this is a speed measure that's used on many speed tests. You can click here to get one. And there's a lot of options here, like 1, make sure your theme's good. 2, the server optimization. So we did this by having 7.0 and by having PHP-FPM, Fast Process Manager. But also we want to optimize MySQL, which we're going to do here in just a second. So we'll get to that. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you can see the only change we're adding is the HTTP2. So we'll go down here and provision, and now it's going to start. So we can just let this run and do its thing. While this does this, we want to optimize the database. Remember, we're still not live yet. We still haven't pushed the switch live. So let's go back to this blog post, and I've got a nice table on optimizing your my.cnf file. So we can go on down here. And this is increasing your buffer pool based on the RAM in the server, because this will increase your load, make your load time faster. So what we want to do is go back to our terminal, and we want to use the nano editor, nano/etc/my.cnf. And you can see we've got our key buffer size, our buffer pool size is 128 megabytes. Well, we can go down here and look. Well, with 1 gigabyte, we can really use 800 megabytes. So we have 4 gigabytes of RAM in this. So you can use as much as 80% of RAM with that. And you don't have to go that high if you don't want. So it really it's personal preference. And again, monitoring your server load after all of this. But with 4 gigabytes of RAM, the 80% rule would be about 3.2 gigabytes. So I'd say let's just go to 3 gigabytes and see what we're looking at when we're finished. So we'll change this to 3G. And we can leave this other stuff standard. If you want to increase it, you can. If you don't know what you're doing, just leave it. But I'm going to do a control and exit, save the changes. And I'm going to go into Web Host Manager. And you can see this is now finished. And I want to type in MySQL and click restart. And I want to restart the database server. And we want to make sure it comes online okay. If it doesn't, of course, then we need to escalate it. But you can see it started successfully. Okay, so now we've installed PHP-FPM, we've installed HTTP2, and we've also optimized the MySQL server. So we did this really quick. It's not complicated either. So we're making great progress here. So now our site is ready to go live. So now we need to change the name servers. So what we want to do is go to where our domain is hosted. Again, this is at Name Hero. So domains, my domains, keydiets.com, name servers, and now we want to change this to the ns1.keydiets.com, ns2.keydiets.com. Go down here and click Change Name Servers. Now, it's not going to be instantly live. When you make a modification to your name servers, there's a period called DNS propagation. And I've got some tips on our blog. Go to Name Hero's blog and search DNS propagation, speed up. And there's ways you can tweak your local computer. But basically what happens is your internet service provider caches name servers. When you go to a website, it caches the name servers to make the lookup not have to happen each time, so it's faster. So you have faster internet access. Well, when you make a change to your name servers, you have to wait for your internet service provider to refetch them. So this can take up to 24 hours. So what I like to do is go to my server, and I like to add a new file so I'll know when the site is on the new server. So you can do this by going to List Accounts, and you're going to see a login to cPanel. This is your new cPanel login for your site, in our example, keydiets.com. From here, we want to go into File Manager, and you're going to see our directory structure just like it was on our previous host. Go into Public HTML, add a new file, and just call it new server.html. Create file. And we'll go here and edit it. Edit. And we can just type in here H1 hi world. Save changes. So now when our server is live, our new server, we will be able to go to /newserver.html and we'll see this page. Right now we're not getting it. And we can remove the S, see if that's it. Nope, we're not getting it because it's not on it yet. So we want to allow for up to 24 hours for the new server to be live. Now, if you want to test your website before you change it, just in case maybe you have a really popular site and you're like, Ryan, okay, I have to see it before it's live. Go to our blog, go to the search box, test or preview website before going live. Type that in, and here's a tutorial. So you can follow this tutorial to how to test your website on the new server before actually switching the name servers. And this walks you through it step by step. So that's important, if especially those of you that have active sites, that you get that checked. And you can also ask our team to check it for you. But now I'm finished in the terminal here, so I can exit this. And what I like to do when I'm finished in my terminal is I like to disable root logins. Whoops. Type in SSH, manage SSH password authorization, disable it. That way no one can try to SSH into your server. And then you really should set up root SSH keys. I'm not going to get into that here, but at least disable that password auth so other people can't try to root in. If you need to get back into your terminal, then enable it, and you can do it that way. But you want to disable that, and it says here it's recommended, and it's recommended that you use SSH keys instead of password, just because it's a lot safer. I've got blog tutorials on that, so I'm not going to get into that inside this video. But now at this point, congratulations, you have now moved your WordPress website from your old host. You've set up a new VPS with us here at Name Hero. You've set up free and automatic SSL certificates. Now, it's important to note those SSL certificates cannot generate until your DNS is live. So that's, give that period, and after it propagates, then the SSL certificates will automatically generate. But we've optimized the server. We've optimized the database. We're all ready to go. Now, you'll also notice on this server, it says you must reboot the server to apply software updates. That might be important for you to do too before you change those name servers, just so you get that out of the way. A lot of servers, once they come online, they need to update just because the image might be a day or two old. And so that way that the server's running the latest software. So this just takes like 2 minutes to reboot it and to get back online. But that's how you do it. Now we're live, or we're going to be live on our VPS, and we're going to be rocking and rolling. The biggest measurement is viewing that load, and you can see up here at the top, load averages. Since we have 2 CPUs, remember that's what we bought, if we're ever reaching a load over 2, then that's a good indication we probably need to start upgrading. And if we need to do that, I'll show you real quick in this video, we go back to where our service is right here, upgrade, downgrade, click it, give it a second to fetch from the server. And you can see you can upgrade to the 6 gigabytes or the 8 gigabytes. You can choose your price. Once again, the longer you sign up, the more you save. And again, if you've paid for like a year in advance, you might need to reach out to our sales team to make sure that they give you credit. If not, we can automatically apply it later on. But select your payment option, click choose product, and you can pay for it, and it will then begin the upgrade. Okay, and see, look, this is actually going to credit you. This actually is going to do the credit from what's due and not. So it gets it all configured for you. So you just click to continue, and this would then upgrade your server. And I don't know, it might generate me an invoice just now. Nope, it didn't. Okay, so that's how that's done, though. But you just want to monitor that load. If this load starts getting high, you'll see it inside of here, or I like status. Service status. If that load starts to go above 2 for any length of time, then well, I'm probably getting, if you start seeing red in here too, and any red on this page is bad. Any red on the service status page is bad. So if you start seeing that, it's probably time to upgrade. Don't be cheap. Remember, you got a VPS for the resources, and if you need more, then you need more. And then of course you can also tweak other numbers as you go along. But this is how to have the fastest WordPress website in the world. To have your site just gets loading and going for your visitors and for your business. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. It's certainly our pleasure to help you scale up, to bring your business to life. It makes us excited here at Name Hero, and it's certainly our pleasure doing business with you. So let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to put this video on our YouTube page so you can comment there. I'm going to put it on our blog, and so you can comment on our blog. And then, of course, you can always just log a ticket or give us a call or live chat. We'd be more than happy to help you. So thanks so much for watching and using Name Hero's WordPress VPS hosting.